Hey, and welcome to the Pod Cafe. I'm Nick Potts.
And I'm Emily Potts.
And we drink coffee and talk about the podcast we're listening to.
Yeah, we do. I could tell that when I said my name, my volume was really loud. So good luck producing this one.
Okay, well, we'll figure that out later.
What kind of coffee?
I got a new microphone, so my audio issues should be good to go. No more wind, no more audio dropping out. Not that anyone really knows about that because I've cut it out every time. But
yeah, I need support from an expert in-house, and we don't have one of those in-house.
Yeah. We'll figure it out.
Okay, so what kind of coffee are you drinking?
I'm drinking a pretty simple dark roast iced coffee from Starbucks. And that's it.
It sounds delicious.
It's actually really good. It's very, what do they say on it? Bold?
Bold.
It's
yeah.
pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah, I was looking at the different, I had some medium roast yesterday. And some blonde roast, like, I don't know, last week or something.
Wow, you don't discriminate against those roasts, huh?
No, and sometimes I just need different roasts. Sometimes, like, the blonde one's a little smoother, a little easier on the tongue. It's got a smoother mouthfeel.
Okay.
And the dark roast is a little more bitter, a little bolder. And today I just needed something a little bolder.
I feel ya. I can understand that.
Yeah. What about you? What are you drinking?
I'm drinking an iced coffee from a coffee shop called Penny's Coffee. It's pretty plain, but really good. I feel like, well, first of all, it's a pretty expensive coffee, but I'm going to tell you that it was completely worth it because it tastes better than any iced coffee I've ever had. Maybe these like little fancy
Ever?
In the most recent times, yes. Well, I mean, like for a plain black coffee, yeah, I think it's the best. It's a really good coffee.
Wow.
I don't know. These little like fancy boutique coffee shops know what they're doing.
What's the price like?
This is like $5.50 or something.
$5.50 for how big?
16 ounce.
I don't know. Is that good? It doesn't look very. Yeah, it looks
it's
alright.
the same size as a grande.
Man, for $5.50.
I know, but it's so
That seems
good.
like a
And look
lot.
at how cute the cup is. It says pennies. It's cute.
Yeah, I guess. The straw's pink.
Yep. And they also have really good crepes, but I didn't have a crepe.
Yeah, I very purposefully did not eat any food this time because I got sick last time.
Oh, yeah, we don't need that again.
No. So, what do you rate it then?
Oh,
10
my
out
coffee.
of 10? If it's the best ever.
Yeah, I would give
must
it a
be.
10. Yep. This is a 10 in the iced coffee realm. Yep.
Mine's a 9.
Okay. What could have made it a 10? What opportunity do the Starbucks have?
Well, it's not. It's again one of those big jugs you buy from like Target or something.
Ah, yes.
So, just not as good as the real thing.
Okay.
But still very good.
I feel you. All right.
Mhm.
Well, that's good. So should we jump right in? Should we get going here? Give the
I don't know
people what they
else we would
want?
do.
Give the people what they
Yeah.
want. All right. So today we're going to talk about a business and technology podcast. And this was sent in by a listener. They contacted us via Twitter asking us to review their podcast and sent it over. And so we're doing it. Here we are. So other people should do that too.
Yeah, keep doing it.
So this podcast is called
What, are you just gonna interrupt me?
Oh, I didn't know you were talking. Okay. You can go now.
Oh, okay. I have a possible second listener kind of collab idea possibly for next week, but I'm not sure.
Ooh, this sounds fun.
Yeah, it could be interesting. It may be like a little side episode. Maybe doesn't fit right into our genres and seasons, but I think it'd be really fun to do.
All right. I'm already excited. Look at that little teaser.
Cool.
That's a teaser for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I just don't know the logistics of how to record it yet, because it would involve having like 2 guests.
Oh, well, lucky for me, I'm really good at logistics, so let me know.
Okay.
Okay. So this podcast is called The End of Privacy. And I generally like business and technology podcasts because, you all know me. I like to learn on my podcast. So I like a little bit of the knowledge drop. So I wasn't, this wasn't like too far out of the realm of podcasts that I listen to. But a little background on the show. The author's name is B.J. Mendelsohn. And he is an author and a keynote speaker, and he talks a lot about social media and, what else does he talk about?
He talks about data, like the collection of data from, I don't know, technology, but mostly I think this focus was social media and other sites like that. I don't know if like stuff like Tinder is considered social media or what, but stuff like that.
Yeah, so I think he makes most of his, fame and spends most of his time being a keynote speaker. So he speaks a lot about just those kind of topics and data and social media and impacts on society and a little bit of the politics behind it. But this podcast, it's called The End of Privacy. It's about basically the data collection that happens pretty much anywhere on the internet and what's being done with it, who's collecting it. He talks a lot about how he thinks people should be compensated for giving their data. So, that's like kind of the gist of the summary of what it's about. And I think you would add to that.
What do you think about that? Do you think people should be paid for providing data?
Well, I would say, first, I think BJ would really not like talking to me about social media because I'm pretty much how it somewhat gives you an option. You can decide what data you want to share. There's some privacy settings you can set so you're not sharing everything. I'm pretty okay with them taking my data.
Yeah, I don't, I would love to get some money for it. Just free money. But, I don't know. It's tough because on one hand, focus groups are a thing. Just think about the different forms of market research. Focus groups are a thing. People get paid for that. So is it technically a focus group? Not really. It's just market research, I think. And I think technology has made the market research for companies way easier. They can just collect this data. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, and I think maybe the opinion varies depending on how much people post on social media versus others. I don't post a ton of things, so when I do, or when I'm clicking around to different websites, I'm I know they're tracking my data and where I'm clicking right now, but if it helps their research and it helps me get more targeted ads or whatever, why not?
I guess we might as well just go right into content since we're already talking about it.
Yeah, we could do that.
But I mean, the stuff he's saying is not untrue. And this is, I don't think it's new information. I actually don't know how old this podcast is, but it's not new information, but it's definitely still relevant and interesting. Especially in terms of there's always been a problem with companies hiding things in those terms and conditions things because they're so long and boring and nobody reads them.
Mm-hmm.
And you just agree instantly. That's definitely an issue. I've never read one of those once in my life, so I have no idea what I'm agreeing to.
Yeah.
The privacy thing is, I definitely agree with him. It can be an issue. It's I don't know, but it's kind of, I don't know how bad it is. It's kind of I don't know, don't blame the technology, blame the people behind it. It just depends on who has their hands on it, maybe.
Yeah, and I think that's probably part of what he was talking about, because in the first few episodes, he kind of talks about a little more of the history of it and like how involved the government has been in data. And I think like it seemed like from those first few episodes, that was more of his concern of just like who has it and things like that. Which I can agree with. I think some of that is like a little shady. You don't really know what's going on with. I feel like the government's always a little shady. You never know what they're doing, and if they're collecting data, what are they using it for?
Some of it is kind of shady. Like he talked about, LinkedIn had to settle for a lot of money out of court for sharing data they either weren't supposed to or too much or something like that.
Yeah.
So even like you wouldn't think LinkedIn has a pretty good rep as a pretty professional work-related website, and they had to settle out of court. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's funny how, I mean, I guess that shows you kind of how when people have so much data and like don't know what to use, don't know what to do with it, and then they just misuse it. It's like having too much and you can't control it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty weird. I can't remember when I started noticing like the targeting ads thing, but it's had to have been pretty recent. It's pretty fascinating if you take all the privacy issues out of it that they could do that. That you can literally just click on an ad, and then from that point on, you'll get ads that are that or that related.
Yeah.
It's pretty complex.
Or you search for something on Google and then you go to other websites and all you get is ads for those kind of things. It's like, gosh,
Yeah.
who's listening to me? But I think I get where he's coming from. It just doesn't make me panic as much, maybe as it should. Maybe I am a little too casual in my privacy settings.
I think I'm the same. I don't know if it might just be ignorance on my part or naivety, but it's just not something I care about. I don't know. Like I'll say I don't have anything to hide, even though he attempted. I don't know if he did. He claims he did, but he attempted to shoot that argument down. People saying I have nothing to hide. I like even the stuff he brought up, like even like embarrassing things that maybe I have. Like, who cares? Like, I just, in my opinion, the government, even if they're straight up watching me through my webcam right now as we're doing this, like, they have better things to do. They have bigger fish to fry. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Like when I'm sitting here picking my nose or something, are they watching me?
Yeah, I mean, that's a real fear for a lot of people, and a lot of people I know. People, like...
Put the stickers over?
They do that. They, like... refuse to use like Snapchat and stuff like that because of facial recognition. That was an interesting thing you talked about, actually, how Facebook is so good at facial recognition now that they don't even like need your whole face to tag you in pictures and stuff. You
know what's funny? I found a loophole in that a little bit. Not really a loophole, but an error that happens because I'm sure a ton of people have this when their moms want their friends to see themselves in a picture, so they tag their own name in your picture. So our mother has tagged herself in my pictures so many times that if I upload a picture, it tries to tag my face as her.
Oh, she tags herself even if she's not in it?
Yeah.
That's funny. So then what, you have to manually put your own name in?
Yeah, I just removed the tag. I never tag myself in my own pictures, but like my post if I upload it.
Yeah. But that's funny.
Yeah. So Facebook doesn't know how to get around those moms. I don't know.
Yeah, interesting. Well, that'll be dying out soon.
Those moms will stop that.
Yeah, after that generation, there's not a single person who didn't grow up on social media.
That's true.
One thing I thought was interesting that I disagreed with that BJ talked about was Facebook ads and social media marketing. He claims that it's a waste of money and pointless, and I entirely disagree.
I actually disagree with that as well because so I work in a company that uses a lot of that social media advertising, and our marketing group reviews a lot of the impressions and the impact and just making sure that when we are investing that money, it makes sense. And they'll review different posts to see which ones had more impressions and made more money and compare it to ones that made less to figure out, like what we should be posting, what not. And it's like our biggest driver of marketing generated revenue in terms of like sales and things like that.
Yeah, because it's about attention. You have to think about the attention and where it's at. Like he says that this marketing is measured in likes and shares and views and stuff, and he says that that's meaningless and it's not real, but it's not. It's very real and very meaningful because it's where social media is where everybody's attention is right now. If you want your product or your ad to be seen, you need to put it on social media. The radio and TV commercials are no longer effective like he says they are, because every single person, if you even have real cable anymore, a lot of people don't even have real cable anymore.
Yeah, I don't.
So then you're not getting ads at all. If you are, you're fast forwarding through them. I think the biggest, most effective place to have ads still is during the Super Bowl. But after that, it's social media. Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Instagram influencers are huge right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't agree with that point. It's about attention, and everybody's attention is on social media. Gary Vee actually says social media is just like a slang word for the internet. Because
it's true.
I mean, when you go to the internet, that's what you're going to.
Who's Gary Vee again?
Gary Vaynerchuk is he owns VaynerMedia, co-owns Vayner Sports. VaynerMedia is a digital media marketing company. It's like a $500 million company. He's got his vlog and his Ask Gary Vee show, and the vlog's called Daily V. I don't know. He's an entrepreneur. He's pretty outspoken. He's the guy most people don't like because he's very like brash and blunt and like very high energy, and I don't know.
Yeah.
You would absolutely know who I'm talking about if you saw him.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think the social media ads is an interesting one because you can also track, or at least at my company, we can track which sales originated from those ads, and it's surprisingly high. So, yeah, I don't know where his data on that comes from, but it's interesting, I guess.
Do you what other kind of like marketing or advertising do you guys do?
So Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We do have commercials and radio, but I've actually never heard them live or seen them wherever they actually play. I don't know. I don't have cable, so.
See, that's the point.
Yeah, but I've seen what they look like. And then mail, like direct mail, is still a big one.
Still?
Yeah.
Is it effective?
Yeah. Well, I guess when I say direct mail, it's more direct email, but still some direct mail for people that we already have like as customers. But direct email is usually a pretty big one.
Yeah. Interesting. So which one's your most effective? The social media?
Yeah, social media.
And you can track how much revenue is coming in from those ads or related to those ads.
Yeah, you can track back to see how impactful they are. Which all companies do this. And I mean, that's how they figure out where they keep putting their marketing dollars into.
Yeah. Well, there you go right there, because he was saying that you shouldn't look at views and shares and clicks. You should look at how much money is coming in from that, and If you're saying you're seeing the most money coming in from that, then there you go.
Yeah. Exactly. Some of the other things content-wise that I like that he does, because this is all very, research-based and kind of intense topics, but I feel like in every single episode he throws in a little bit of humor, which I kind of like.
He does, for sure.
Yeah, which I think was just funny. Like, there were a couple times when I was, like, listening, and then he would, like, say something, and I would pretty much laugh out loud. I was like, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, and I like people who aren't afraid to curse, as long as you're not overdoing it ridiculously, but, like, everybody does. So, purposefully not swearing comes off, I don't know, weird, fake to me. So I don't mind. I enjoy when people aren't afraid to use those words when appropriate.
Yeah. I also feel like his podcast in general, I mean, it's a little bit like a kind of like a call to action, or like a kind of a public service announcement type of thing, where if you are really looking to limit your data and what you're sharing and like get some of that privacy controlled, he makes it very actionable, like each episode he kind of like summarizes it, gives you some quick steps, makes it like a very like, okay, I can listen to this short podcast and then here are the actions I can take, which I think is great for something like this because it's so informative and there's a lot of just data behind it, but he makes it actionable.
Yeah, I actually really appreciate that about it, because he's not just explaining the problems. He's also offering some solutions, whether they're minor or not. Like I didn't know there were browsers that exist that could limit that data collection and enhance your privacy. I for a second considered downloading one just to see what it was like.
Yeah, and I took a marketing class in college where we actually went onto a site, and I can't remember what it's called, but we like looked at all of it. There was like, you could see everything that you were tied to. Even showed like credit cards, what you have open, what you've closed, and it was like kind of frightening. And this class that I took was a lot about like what big marketing companies have on you in terms of data. It was interesting.
Well, here's the really fascinating thing is, who are we worried about having this information? Is it the government or is it these companies? Is my first question.
I think this podcast is worried about both. I personally don't know if I'm worried about either.
I think it's probably more of an issue if the companies have the information. I just don't know how much of that they really need. But this is what's really fascinating is the government, before this internet ad targeting and data collection started, has had all this. When I was at the U.S. Marshals, they had this program called Leads. And in Leads, you can look up a person and find any and all of their information. Like, I looked up myself, and you can find every house you've ever lived in, every car you've ever owned, every house and car your parents, your uncles, your cousins, your siblings have ever owned. You can see how much your parents have left to pay on their mortgage. You can see credit card stuff. You can see literally any information. You can see who owned the house before you. You can see where you got the car from, who you got the car from, all the way back to like its origin. You can see all this information. So the data collection, at least for the government, already exists.
They're always watching.
Yeah, always. This is where the preppers and the I don't know what else you call them come in.
What is a prepper?
So a prepper is someone who is prepping for like a major catastrophic event, whether it be like a zombie apocalypse or like nuclear fallout or a war or a terrorist attack or somebody coming to our own soil and attacking. So you'll have people who like stockpile guns and like non-perishable goods and water and food and stuff, and they're just prepping for this catastrophe to happen.
Interesting. I'm not a prepper.
Yeah. You ever seen the show Doomsday Preppers?
No.
Yeah, they make like bunkers that they can go in case of like nuclear fallout, and they like some people get wild with it.
Okay. Interesting. So we should rate the content, but also I would like to make note that we skipped the music and introduction.
Well, I think we just naturally slid into content because we started talking about it right off the bat.
That's fair. What would you rate the content?
I would give it something pretty high. Man, do I want to just go for a 10? I'm gonna go for a 9. Mostly because most of what he's saying I think is right. I think there's definitely a privacy issue. My issue is just apathy and ignorance. So I definitely recognize there's an issue. I just don't care enough, which is a problem. But I think the stuff he's saying is really interesting. A lot of it is true. I give it a 9 instead of a 10 because some of it, like the advertising on social media stuff, is a little inaccurate in my opinion. But yeah, that's my rating.
Okay, I think that's fair. I think I'm actually going to give it an 8. And here's why. I do really like the content. I think it's good. I like that it's actionable. I like that it has some jokes in it. But I do feel like sometimes he does a lot of like making a statement of like, if you want to see the facts on that, go read this or go Google this. Which in this case, if I'm listening to this podcast, just give me a couple fact lines and
sure.
I don't know, cite a source real quick. It doesn't have to be like a whole essay, but give me something. The
Sure.
other piece is he talks about how, so I think when he started doing all of this research, it was like October, but he's still recording these currently. So he's always referencing back to like, I don't know if this is true from since when I wrote this, like kind of back referencing. And it's like, I don't know, give me some updated facts. Those are my only 2 qualms with it, I guess.
Okay. All right. 8 and 9. Pretty good. Why don't we jump back to the intro and music then?
But I think those are good. I mean, that's good content scores. We killed it.
You didn't hear me?
No, sorry, what'd you say?
You didn't hear me after you were done talking?
No.
Well, that's weird because my audio didn't cut out.
Weird. Say it again.
I literally said what you said. I said, that's good, 8 and 9.
Oh.
But then I said, why don't we jump back to the intro and music?
Okay.
Hey, this is BJ Mendelson. I'm the author of the words you're about to listen to, as narrated by Roger Wayne. Today's edition of the End of Privacy miniseries is brought to you by my friends at PodcastMotor.com. Stick around after today's episode to learn more about Podcast Motor and their complete suite of editing and production services. And now, back to Roger.
Yeah, I like the intro, actually, for a couple of reasons. I think, well, it's short, and he references his sponsor at the beginning, but doesn't go into any details about them until the end, which is great, because if you want to listen to it, you can, or it gives you a great opportunity to just skip right over it. I like his intro because he talks himself, but then introduces who's going to actually narrate the podcast, which I think is cool, because, like, he made the decision to not narrate it himself, but is still putting himself in the podcast, which I think is awesome. What do you think?
I disagree.
Why?
And I'll talk about this in structure.
Okay.
But I do not like the fact that he's not doing his own podcast.
Maybe he doesn't. Well, did you listen to the episode where he talked about... Oh, actually, this isn't the episode. I listened to the ad at the end of one episode just to kind of hear what he talked about. And he does talk about how... So that the sponsor that he chose is some, like, podcast producing, recording, studio type thing, or like they help you do it. And he talks about how like producing isn't his forte, and he talks about that's why he has like the narrator and the someone else produce it, and he's just recognizing it's not his strength. I think that's great.
I think he doesn't have to produce or anything. I think it should absolutely be his voice on the podcast, though. I think he should do the information, because whoever is narrating it is not going to be as knowledgeable on the subject. Like, what is he? Well, I know exactly what he's doing, and I'll talk about it during structure. But I think if you're going to put your name on the podcast, you should do the podcast, not somebody else. I know he wrote it. He wrote all the information and stuff. I just don't know why you wouldn't do it.
That's fair. Maybe he doesn't like his voice. I kind of hate my voice on these podcasts.
Yeah, but you still do it.
I know. I got myself roped in. Can't get out now. Okay. Well, I like that the intro's short.
Yeah, otherwise I'm a fan of the intro and stuff. Maybe that's another good way to do ads and stuff, is splitting it up.
Yeah.
Maybe not just the middle, but making a mention at the beginning and then going into it at the end, because it's short. It's not that long. So
yeah, and I like the little stint of music. I feel like the music could be a little longer. I kind of liked it. Little rock band.
Well, maybe that's the point. Maybe it gets you wanting more. Makes you want to listen to the next one just for the intro.
Maybe. I don't know, though. All right. What would you rate the intro?
I guess a 10. I don't have any problems with it.
I think so, too. I'll give it a 10.
Cool.
Perfect score.
So,
okay. Let's talk
next?
about like the entertainment factor.
Well, it's I mean, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. I would say it's entertaining while I'm listening. It is not something I think I would search out unless I was already diving into the topic in other areas, and maybe I wanted more info. I don't know that it's something I would continuously go back to, but doesn't mean it's not. I think the content of it is entertaining, but that's kind of content, right?
Yeah.
This is more like the draw to it. So I don't know. It's not like the Bright sessions. I don't think I'm going to go back and keep listening after
Yeah,
this.
that's true. I feel like it's a really niche topic that, unless you're just super interested in data, social media things in a sense already, or you're looking for more information about data, then I personally wouldn't go searching for it either. But I did like.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's just my apathy. It's not that it's not entertaining, and for a lot of people it would be something they listen to constantly, but just not for me, I guess.
Same.
All right, so what are you rating it then?
I don't know. I don't have much to say about it, because this is hard, because I did like it. I'm glad it was brought up to us, but I don't know if I would have listened to it otherwise.
When you're at work, were you like, man, I can't wait to get home to listen to this?
No, not really.
Yeah, so there's just no, I mean, this is the intangible draw you in. Doesn't make you want to keep listening. So for me, I just didn't.
So I would say, though, when I did start listening, I was kind of interested in what else he had to say. So not that I was like, oh, I want to keep listening and like all day, every day type of thing. But I had time when I started listening to it. So I was like, yeah, I want to keep hearing what else he's got going on. So
I agree. It was easy to listen to a bunch in a row. Keep listening once I started.
Yeah. I think for that reason, I might give it, I don't know. I always feel like you freak out when I give it scores. I think I would give it a 5.
Holy cow.
Maybe a 6. I know, you always freak out.
I was going to hit it with a 7.
All right. So maybe I'll go 6. Well, the reason is, like, I liked it when I started listening, but I mean, I don't know if I would go back, you know?
I definitely won't. So maybe I'm too high. I think I'm going to go 6 too.
No, you're just copying me. You make me feel bad, and then you...
Well, you said 5, so...
Okay.
All right, 6s.
Sixes, yeah.
All right.
Okay, I feel like this is a more fun one to talk about because I feel like you have a lot of things to say. But let's talk about the structure.
I do have a lot of things to say. Let me start with... Should I start with the good things or the bad things?
Start with the good things.
Okay, so what I really liked is the length of the episodes. This might be why they're so easy to listen to a bunch in a row, because they're very short. They're between like 11 and 15 minutes or so, which is great. I mean, it's like the bingeable podcast. It's like the Netflix binge equivalent, because you can just listen to a bunch. I could listen to, there was 10 of them, and I listened to all 10 like in one sitting. So that was good. I appreciated that.
Yeah.
Again, we talked about the splitting up of the ad talk and the sponsors and stuff. That was done well. I really liked that.
Yep.
Moving on to the stuff I didn't like. You said he's still coming out with episodes?
I think so. I think I just saw one. Oh, actually, maybe not. I was going to say, I just saw one released on June 15th.
I think he's...
Is that the last one?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. But this is my problem in terms of structure. To me, it's not a podcast. This is an audiobook.
Oh, interesting.
Because he says this is his book. He calls it like a book narration. This is his book that he wrote. He wrote this book, and now he's putting it in audio form, which is why... So audiobooks all the time have narrators that aren't their authors. So he did that. But this, to me, is not a podcast. It is an audiobook.
Interesting. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, so he's just recording his... That's why when the narrator reads it, he reads it in his writing. So he reads it... I'm trying to think of the specific examples that I can't think of right now, but I think he says, like, he talks about it as if you were reading it. But yeah, it's a book. It's a narration of his book. And I mean, we could get into semantics, I guess, like, are audiobooks a form of podcasts?
Oh no.
I think not.
This is like an argument of, like, is a cinnamon roll a donut? Okay.
No, it's not a donut. Who says it's a donut?
Oh, I kind of think it's a donut.
Well, what makes it a donut?
Is a cronut a donut? Those croissant.
What's a cronut?
Those like croissant donuts.
I don't know. Is it a donut?
They're all in the family. I'm googling this.
I don't know.
Is an audiobook a podcast?
I don't think it is, because I think audiobooks... Well, I don't know. I don't want to say which was out first, because I don't know how long podcasting has really been out. Technically, podcasting has been out since, like, radio shows, right? Before television. That's kind of podcasting.
Yeah. Wow,
But,
there's really no definitive argument on Google on this. That's weird.
Yeah, to me, it's an audiobook and not necessarily a podcast.
Okay. Well, let me tell you what I think. Oh,
Okay.
Sorry, I was still caught up in Googling if an audiobook is a podcast. So I agree. I like the length of it. I love the intro, briefly mention the sponsor, talk about the sponsor at the end, because I only had to listen to the sponsor thing once, and then I was like, all right, I get what his sponsor does. I can skip over it in the next few episodes, which is cool. I like that he does a little summary at the end of the podcast. I think that, like, structurally makes it easier to be like, because then I'm listening, I'm like, ooh, I should try that. But then it's like you get to the end and I'm like, oh, I can't remember what I was going to try, but he summarizes it. So I think that's great. I didn't think about the audiobook versus podcast piece like you did, but that's an interesting point. I don't think, I don't feel like I had that strong of a negative on structurally. I liked it.
I forgot about the summary at the end, which I actually think he calls a chapter summary, not an episode summary.
Oh, no more reason to call it an audiobook.
But I like that a lot. A
Yeah,
little
me
summary
too.
at the end is good. So I actually have more positives. There's more things I like about the structure than dislike, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's a podcast.
I found a website. It's called makeuseof.com. Seems really reputable. I'm reading. The title is, What's the Difference Between Podcasts and Audiobooks? Don't you want to know?
Mm-hmm.
So on the surface, not much is different. Both are audio files that you can either download and listen to offline or stream directly. Hey, what are you doing?
What?
You're making noises. Oh, maybe I'm making noises. Sorry.
Okay.
This is funny. Maybe BJ will appreciate this. While I'm Googling this, I think there's an ad on the page that has sound. So I was like, what are you doing? It's coming through my head. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. Ready? A podcast is always episodic, meaning that it's broken into successive episodes that are released on some kind of schedule. Hold on, let me find the other side of it. On the other hand, an audiobook is a very specific type of content, singular recordings of pre-existing text.
So it applies to both, right?
Yeah.
So this is recordings based on pre-existing text. It's based on his book.
Mm-hmm.
All he did was split up the chapters into episodes.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, it's still an audiobook. It's just like the difference between a movie and a TV show.
Okay. I like that argument. I hope BJ gets back to us and lets us know what he thinks about that.
Yeah, I actually hope so too. I could be wrong. I mean,
Or maybe that was kind of his intention, but a good outlet of releasing your audiobook in these like small kind of intro types of chunks to each chapter is via podcast networks, you know?
maybe he's brilliant.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like bending genres. It's not a genre, but like maybe he's crossing over and making a mashup that nobody's done yet.
Yeah, we need more information about his intent here.
It's like the TV show version of an audiobook.
Yeah. Oh, fascinating. New content category.
Yeah.
Okay. So what would
but
you rate the...
shouldn't that be in storytelling then?
No, because storytelling, I think of... Oh, maybe. I don't know. I think of storytelling as fiction.
But there's non-fiction stories.
I know. It's just in my head. I go straight to fiction. This is personal.
Anyways, so
Okay,
what do you rate the structure?
I like it. I think I'd give it a 10.
Dang.
Maybe
Okay. What? Maybe what?
I was gonna say maybe a 9, but I really didn't have anything to say negatively. I think it fits what he's doing. So I'm gonna stick with
Give it a 10.
I'm sticking with it.
I'm gonna hit it with a 7.
Whoa! Audiobook really hitting you hard.
It's not a podcast in my opinion. It's an audiobook. But everything else was good.
Okay. 10 and 7. Wow, we've never been that different. This is exciting.
I know.
Breakthroughs. All right, last thing we need to talk about is the production. Which...
Production's great.
It is great. I like it.
Yeah, I have 0 issues with the production. I'll give that one a 10. No problem.
Okay, me too. I think it's just... I mean... I feel like it's easy production because it is just like a narration from a text. But, yeah. I don't know.
Well, you said he uses a company too, right?
I think so. Well, yeah, I think so because he talks about his advertising company. I only listened to it once, so to be honest, I can't really remember if the sponsor is what he uses. But he does talk about how, like, production isn't his forte, so he has it produced, or I don't know. But it sounds great.
Sounds great. I have no issues. No, the audio quality is really good. It's really clean, really clear. The transitions are pretty seamless from like him talking to the narrator.
Yeah,
I
agree.
Music input's good. I don't know. Yeah, 10 out of 10 for me.
Me too. All right, let's see what we got.
All right, so what does that bring our averages?
So this is going to be shocking because, like, when am I ever higher than you? But, today I am. So my average is an 8.8 and yours is an 8.4.
Okay, so not that different.
But mine is still higher. So let's just
It's
celebrate
a little
this
higher.
moment. I actually think that's pretty accurate to where I would place it anyway. Like right around that 8 to 9 range, I think would summarize my overall feelings of it.
I feel the same, actually. 8 yeah. I'll bump mine up to like an 8.5 for my overall rating.
Great, we can meet in the middle at an 8.5. I like it.
Yeah, all right, cool. That was a pretty easy one.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really informative podcast. It's an interesting topic that's clearly very relevant in today's world and all the social media that we do. So, I don't know, it's pretty interesting to listen to.
It is really interesting, and it is a topic that I can get sucked into. I've seen the Terms and Conditions documentary.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, it's fascinating because it's such, like, a huge part of our lives and society right now.
Yeah.
And you just don't know. You just don't know what's going on with your data. So, like, I remember he said something like people on Tinder, they're keeping track of every conversation you have on there.
Mm-hmm.
And same with, like, Facebook and, whatever. So that's kind of like, I don't know, even if you have nothing to hide, it's still like a moral thing. It's an invasion of privacy.
Yeah. And, like, some of it's like, why do they need all of that?
Yeah. You don't.
Yeah.
But just in case there's a little nugget of information in there they can sell us on.
Keep it all, just in case.
Yeah.
But, yeah, thanks to BJ for sending this to us and having us check it out. It's definitely something I might not have listened to if it didn't come to me, but I'm glad that it did land in our laps.
I'm glad I did. Yeah. It was very well done. Very well done. It's a good podcast.
Yeah. And I listened to The End of Privacy on Spotify, I believe. I can't remember where I listened to it. I think on Spotify, but I also found it on Stitcher as well, so you can find it there. Same places you can find us. We are on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and Stitcher, or you can listen to our host website, which is thepodcafe.libsyn.com. You can keep sending them in. We like when this happens. This is kind of fun. So you can tweet at us at _podcafe or email to us at podcafe.contact@gmail.com. And I was super pumped last week because our Twitter followers passed 100.
Woo!
I
Got
know.
that 100 mark.
I know. It's like, you really need to capitalize on the opportunity to use the 100 emoji. So that was our moment. And
That was our moment.
we did it.
We're still past it, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, man. 107.
Nice.
We're killing it.
Nice.
Which is great. And I feel like even if you're not producing a podcast, just checking out the podcast community on Twitter is amazing. Like, there's so many podcasts out there. Everyone's kind of tweeting at each other.
Each
other.
other. They're
Telling
tweeting at
you.
each other, man.
These new headphones, I can't hear myself, so I don't know what's coming out of my mouth. It's terrible, high-quality headphones. Yeah, so check it out. It's kind of fun. That's why I have so much fun on Twitter. It's because there's so many other podcasts around us.
It's fascinating. It's a very, like, tight-knit community.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Yeah.
My coffee's
All
all
right.
gone because it was so good.
Mine is not quite, but I'm going to down it because it's nearing that, like, no longer iced coffee, getting a little room temperature phase.
Ooh, can't have that.
All right.
Peace out.